Welcome. Let's talk about the LSAT reading comprehension section. If you've ever felt like it's just a brutal race against the clock, you are definitely not alone. But what if I told you the secret isn't about reading faster, but about reading smarter? Well, today we're going to treat this like our own private study session. We're diving right into Chapter 3 of LSAT Test Prep Mastery to really unpack the strategies that can turn this section from your biggest headache into a major strength. Let's get into it. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll size up the challenge itself. Then, we'll build the absolute most important skill, active reading. From there, we'll learn how to find the main idea like a pro, decode how a passage is built, and then, the best part, we'll put it all into practice. You know, the first and honestly most important step is a total shift in your mindset. To really succeed on the LSAT, you have to go from being a passive passenger just along for the ride to being the active driver of your own reading. It's all about engagement, not just letting your eyes skim over the words. I love this analogy because it just perfectly captures the difference. Passive reading, that's like being a tourist on a bus tour. Yeah, you see the landmarks, but you have no real clue how the city connects. Active reading, though, that's like exploring the city on foot with a map in your hand. You're in control, you're making the connections, and you're building a real mental map of the territory. That's exactly our goal. Okay, so let's get our boots on the ground. Active reading isn't some fuzzy, abstract idea. It's a concrete set of techniques that are the bedrock for, well, everything else we're going to talk about today. Now, this is where reading becomes a system. First, you preview. Just get the lay of the land. Then you highlight, but strategically, only the must-have info. After that, you're taking super quick notes with shorthand. But here's the most important part. You're constantly questioning the text. And finally, you evaluate what you're reading. See? This isn't just reading anymore. It's more like interrogating the passage to get the truth. So, why does all this even matter? Because on the LSAT, you're not just casually reading. You are performing high-level analysis under some serious time pressure. This active approach gives you the tools you need to slice through that dense, complicated text and pull out exactly what you need, quickly and accurately. Okay, so once you're actively engaging with the text, your next mission is to find the two most critical signposts in any passage, the main idea and the author's purpose. Seriously, think of these as your compass. The main idea is basically the what. It's the core argument the author is trying to get across. If you had to boil the entire passage down to just one single sentence, this would be it. And right alongside it is its partner, the author's purpose. This is the why. Why did they write this? Are they trying to persuade you, just inform you of something, or maybe critique a theory? Understanding the why behind the what is absolutely critical. Of course, the people who make the test know just how important this is. And you know what? They love to set traps designed to make you confuse a small detail for the main point. Let's take a look at the most common ones so you don't fall for them. You have got to be on the lookout for these. The sneakiest one by far is the first one, an answer choice that is 100% true based on the passage, but it's just a supporting detail, not the main argument. The others are tricky too. Some are way too broad, some are too narrow, and some use extreme words like always or never, which are almost always red flags on the LSAT. Okay, let's move on to our final analytical skill, understanding structure. If the main idea is your destination, then the structure is the author's roadmap. It's the logical blueprint they use to build their entire argument from the ground up. Now, while there are a few different ways to structure a passage, the LSAT heavily favors two of them: argumentative passages, which are all about persuasion, and expository passages, which just want to inform or explain something. Just figuring out which one you're dealing with can give you a huge clue about the author's overall goal. And this, right here, is where it all clicks into place. When you figure out the structure, let's say it's a compare and contrast, and you combine that with the main idea, that one theory is better than the other, you can nail down the author's purpose with confidence. It's to persuade. See how they all work together? It's a system.
All right, that's enough theory. The only way to really get good at these skills is to actually use them. So let's run through a few quick examples and see how this all works in the real world.
Okay, time for a pop quiz. Here's our first passage. Go ahead and take a moment to read it. And as you do, really focus on finding that main idea. What is the one central point the author is trying to get across here? I'll give you a second. Okay, got it? Now take a look at these four options. Which one really captures that main point we just talked about? Read through them carefully. and keep an eye out for those traps. Take a moment and make your choice. If you picked A, you nailed it. The entire point of the passage is to contrast the video recorder myth with the scientific reality that memory is reconstructive, which means it's less reliable than we think. B is just plain wrong, and C and D use that extreme language, always and never, which are classic wrong answers. Let's do another one. This time, I want you to focus on the author's purpose. What are they trying to accomplish with this text? Go ahead and give it a read.
Okay, what's the goal here? Look for those little signal words in the passage that give away the author's true intent. Which of these options best explains the why behind this text?
The correct answer is B, and the dead giveaway is that phrase ultimately favors. The author isn't just neutrally explaining two ideas, they're comparing them specifically to argue that one is better. Their purpose is to persuade you, which makes B the perfect answer.
All right, one last practice round. This time, let's focus on the architecture of the passage itself. How did the author organize this information? What's the blueprint here? Read it through.
Okay, what's the fundamental structure of this text? Think about how the different pieces of the argument are arranged and how they relate to each other. Which one of these options best describes that organization?
And the answer is C. The whole passage is built around a debate, right? It gives you a finding, then a counter-argument from critics, and then a response from proponents. It's a classic compare and contrast structure between two opposing sides. That's the backbone of the paragraph.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Active reading, finding the main idea, and decoding structure, they aren't just a bunch of separate tricks. They all work together as one powerful system. And yeah, it takes practice, but that practice is what turns reading from a total chore into your most powerful tool for success. So now you have the blueprint. The only question is, where are you going to start? Are you going to focus on your active reading techniques first, drill down on finding the main idea, or maybe work on spotting those passage structures? The key is just to start practicing. Thanks for joining me today.